Oh, we're going to jump to our 3-pack, and I'm not going to lie. I forgot what we talked about last week, but I know it was good.
Something's happened. Something about open houses.
Yeah,
happened,
but somehow, yeah.
because we were doubling down.
Yeah,
on that.
open houses. So the topic of open houses came up, and so I was just, thinking about, because we always say that there's two types of agents: agents that swear by open houses, and agents that say open houses suck because they don't work or whatever the case is. And I often always say it's really just comes down to how you work these open houses. And so I wanted to provide 3 tips to converting at open houses. And this is not about setting up and having cookies and where you place your signs, but this is, okay, people come in, and then what happens?
Love it.
So first one is collect info. So if you're just handing out flyers or business cards, you are nothing but an event planner. And we didn't spend all that time in school. We don't spend all the time putting together open houses to be an event planner. So my goal is to ensure when somebody comes into an open house that I'm doing, is to collect their name, phone number, and possibly email. And so you have a system, and be bullish and insistent about it. Insistent, I misspelled that, but insistent about it. I think it's one of the positive byproducts of COVID is it became a lot easier for us to just say, hey, the seller wants to know who's in their house and walking their house, and be insistent and have some sort of system, whether it's a registration card. Some people still use registration cards. I like registration cards, but I also have used landing pages. You can get a QR code that goes to a landing page. I think our CRM system has a landing page system, right?
Yeah, Wise Agent creates a pretty nifty open house landing page that you can do a QR. You can have them type in their information. QR is nice because they scan it while they're walking through the open house. It should give them more information on the home they're walking through, and then it automatically drops their contact info into your CRM system as a open house attendee and the date you put in there.
Yeah, and like I said, you got to be bullish about it because it's sometimes people get really nervous about asking for information, being insistent about getting that information. And listen, if somebody gets mad and walks out and doesn't want to look at the house because they don't want to give me the card, their info, I wasn't going to get their info anyways, and nothing was going to happen anyways.
Absolutely. I think spend 3 hours of your life and not expect a return from it, or 4, whatever your time frame is. And not expect a return or demand a return or do anything you can possibly do to improve that return would be ignorant. And, it really doesn't help you. It doesn't move you towards that needle. Holding an open house, good. At least you held one. Okay, what are you going to do next week now that you knew this? But again, looking at this you have to be able, now there is a rule, you have to be able to get the info. There is a rule that says, I saw this and Dwayne's here, so we'll talk about it. But, you go out to a property, and I believe in the cards too, Mike, registration cards. But I like the registration cards that ask the consumer who's visiting the home to rate each room.
Yep, and that's exactly what I have.
On a scale of like 1 to 10. And I knew you did, but I wanted to reintroduce it so you could share that with us. And so I hear a lot of agents sometimes say, well, we'd like to be able to get back to you at the end of every month. I pull a drawing for a $250 gas card. So please make sure that the information that you put on the back of that contact information is accurate. Now, the law is pretty specific in this, and the law says that if, in the effect, you are planning on soliciting any of the names and numbers that you collected, if you're going to solicit them or put them in a CRM or do anything with them other than throw them away after you've picked the winner, then that's against the law. It's called soliciting, and it's by a game of risk or chance, and as a result, our designated broker won't like that too much. But
unless he's winning the gas card.
Unless he's winning the gas card. But I have heard of things like that. They give away things. Don't do that. Again, the goal is to walk away with the names, not giving somebody a $250 gas card.
All right. Second thing is, this is where I think it really drops, is have a follow-up plan. Simply calling, emailing, and texting after they visited the open house does not cut it. And this is where you are leveraging your CRM. And if you use Wise Agent, you can have it so it automatically sets them up on some sort of email or texting campaign. But you sit down and you go, okay, if somebody comes into my open house and I get their name, phone number, we use the term cadence. What is my cadence over the next 6 months, or 9 months, or 12 months? How frequently am I going to follow up? How am I going to follow up? At what point am I peppering them with calls versus text messages versus emails? But every person that comes into your open house and fills out a registration card or registers for your open house needs to be treated the same when it comes down to developing your cadence, because it's just because somebody comes into your open house doesn't mean they're ready to buy right now or they're ready to sell right now. And your goal is to evolve into becoming top of mind with them.
So, cadence is a great word. It fits so many different applications. But for today, I want to make sure everybody's understanding, it's a fancy word, it's a nice word, it's a true word. But here's basically what it is what are the individual steps you're going to be doing over a period of time to be able to position that person that's receiving your information to want to engage with you again, to want to maybe ask you an additional question. It doesn't always have to be about the big conversion of let me go out with you and show you homes. Every little thing that they re-engage with you is called a conversion. Every little thing. And so, what you're looking for is what's working, what's not, what are they interested in? You can categorize them. Yeah, CRMs, you can't live without it, to be honest with you.
Okay. Did you want to say something?
I was just do you talk about the mobile app at all when you're sending out your
point.
drips
He
to
always
the
does.
agents
Yep.
after the
You know what? That's a great point, because that's
big
part of my
miss.
cadence.
Yeah.
Is at what point am I? It's one of the two of the immediate things that I'm doing is I'm sending them out my mobile app. Then the next day I might send them the link to my website, and then the third thing that I'm sending out right away is the link because we happen to have a podcast.
Yep.
But that's a great point. Those are the things that I'm putting into the cadence. What is it that I want them to get? What frequency am I doing it, and when am I doing it?
Well, because you're not just asking them to reach back out. You're giving them things that they can hunt on their own, which is what a lot of people are looking for. Let me work on my timeline, the mobile app, your website, etc. Allow them to do that. Then it's your system, so you can kind of see when they're looking, when they're hunting for things. So then at that point, you know if they're hot or cold.
Mike, in the past, you've talked about using the mobile app in a different way. Of course, you're obviously in your CRM making sure they get it, but you've actually used it while the people were there. Here, click, just take a picture of this, and boom, all of a sudden now they have.
Oh,
your
with the mobile app, I'm
Yeah.
taking they've registered for the open house. That's why I like the registration cards, because I got their information in front of me and say, okay, John and Susie, I'm going to text you my mobile app right now, and go in and share that mobile app, and then I can determine whether they gave me the right phone number or not.
Totally.
But it's just a matter of cadence.
Right.
All right, third one is know what you're going to say. I think this is the hardest one of all of them. Most agents don't have a strategy on what they are going to say. When somebody walks into that open house, how are you going to engage them? What types of conversations are you going to have with them? Whether it's about the neighborhood or being really prepared to talk about that house in detail, talk about what your proposition value is, rather than For me, I know the goal in mind. The goal of mine is to collect data, names, phone numbers, and emails.
Yep.
So when you walk in, how am I going to go from A, B, C, D to getting name, phone number, and email? Know what people care about. People care about interest rates right now. People care about what's going on in the market right now. Know the common objections. What are the common objections that buyers or sellers are going to have right now? Know what those are, and don't even wait for them to come up. It's just part of your pitch. It's part of your strategy. It's part of knowing what you want to say to them.
It's funny because I walked into an open house this weekend, and just out had nothing to do. So Lynn and I went through, and it was funny because
You can come over and work on my yard for me,
there
pal.
were QR codes in this house in every room. And it listed a new issue on, how they have those plastic things that used to 8.5 by 11. You could put a letter in there.
I got 5 of them.
Okay, so in every room they had one of those with a QR code, and every one of those had a different industry problem. It was like, our interest rates a problem for you, and then a QR code. Is that your obstacle to buying? In another room, it was down payment money. In another room, it was, and I thought that was funny, but guess what? Me, I'm always taking a picture of every single one. I want to know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
All of it went to a wise agent like landing page where I had all these different digital options that I could download talking about those topics. It was, but it didn't take me to a topic. This was the whole key. It just took me to the landing page where it had every other sets of information of what anybody might have been interested in.
That's actually a really good
It was
idea.
really cool.
I gotta think through
It
that.
was really cool.
Yeah, and Nick, first thing that I'm saying when somebody comes into the open house, I'm going into detail and explaining to them why this is a buyer's market.
I'll let you guys fight about that in 2 weeks when we come back. But again,
I'm
I
sure
mean,
the seller loves that, right?
being in front of it, setting expectation. The big thing here that I just want to make sure we touch on, if you're new to the industry, you've not done a lot of open houses, you're not very confident in what you're going to be talking about. If you don't have a coach, you should have one. Role play, work through that, talk to your team leader, role play, work through that. Or this is another way to leverage AI. We are working with someone who's going to come on in a couple of weeks that have built personalities, personas inside ChatGPT, and it allows realtors to go back and forth with the computer. You prompt the question to the AI chat, it then comes back, and so you're having these conversations back and forth with, it is a computer, but at least gets you prepared to have conversations with consumers as they walk through your open house. Because the last thing you want is a question that you can't answer and you stutter and you step and you're not sure how to walk through that conversation. You don't want to be there. And so it just helps you get a little more prepared as you're doing that. So that's coming up, I think, in January.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I know I am on my phone right now. I'm looking at dates, so it's important to note that we are going to be off the next 2 Mondays, and then Nick, Monday, January 5th, we've got some big announcements.
We have a huge announcement. We have Clint
Major.
Fouts, President and CEO, coming on the podcast. So make sure everybody who's on today, please join us for that one as well. It'll be very important that you guys are in attendance there too.
Cool.
All right, appreciate it.
I'm gonna get up and let Kyle sit in my chair just so he doesn't have to cram.
Come
in
on
with
over
everybody.
here, Kyle.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Come on.
Thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thanks,
Take care.
Todd.